My wife's friend manipulated her into destroying my life with false abuse allegations because I wouldn't go vegan. A year later, she's on my porch, begging me to protect her from that same friend. When me and my wife first met, I wanted her to eat my meat for the rest of my life. You see, our first date was in a steakhouse, and it was there that we discovered the art of steak tasting. Sounds weird, I know, but it was a pretty fancy steakhouse, one where the waiter brings out a plate of samples to try before you order. Really bougie. And for some reason, it was our poop. So much so that the very next day, we planned a home steak tasting night. I bought different cuts and blindfolded her, and she had to guess what part of the cow each piece was from. Looking back, maybe we were a little overly obsessed, but I never thought it would be a cause for divorce. But then one day she told me she wanted to go to a Pilates class. Cool. Until she made a new friend, because that friend was Evelyn. At first I was extremely surprised because Lauren was usually the introverted type, the type to stay quiet in a room full of chatterboxes. But this also meant I was extremely happy for her. She told me that Evelyn had an amazing figure, and she wanted to start working out with her. So I reminded her that I'd love her the exact same regardless, and that was that. Or so I thought. Over the next few days, my beloved wife turned into a complete effing psycho. I was munching on a ribeye steak in the living room when my wife walked in with her pink leggings set that she bought on Pinterest. Did you know a plant-based diet can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 90%? Her tone was sharp, cold. I almost choked from how hard I was laughing, until I realized that she was not joking. She then continued to tell me Evelyn was teaching her about a new way of living, and we ought to be more like her. Honey, I support you in whatever you do, but I'm gonna keep eating meat. I expected her to be her usual supportive self, or even just nod, but instead she grinned, like I had just challenged her or something. The next morning, when I groggily woke up to get my daily dose of AI brain rot reels on Instagram, my eyes widened, because my entire homepage was filled with PETA propaganda. I then realized Lauren must have gone onto my phone while I slept, because she had unfollowed everyone I knew, including my family members, and replaced them all with vegan pages instead. Lauren had always been a pretty impressionable, slightly people-pleasing woman, but I always thought that I would be able to protect her from anyone who tried to take advantage of that. Apparently I was wrong, but instead of waking Lauren up to talk, I kissed her on the forehead and headed to work, because the last thing I wanted was for Evelyn to put a rift between us. I didn't bring it up again until I returned home that evening. Honey, I know you're going through a lot of change right now, but I'd appreciate it if you respected my choice to not— "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy," she interrupted. "Can't you see I'm literally trying to save your life? A plant-based diet makes it 5 times more likely to live till 100. So I did what I always do when Lauren acts a little wild. I grabbed her hand, looked her in the eyes, and reminded her that it was us versus the problem. But this time it didn't work. She pushed me off and muttered, "Evelyn was right about you," under her breath before heading to bed. Like, what the F? Over the next few weeks, I had come home to hundreds of dollars worth of fine-cut steaks thrown out, my entire BBQ set sold online for $10, and PETA posters covering every wall of our once loving home. One night, as I lay awake in bed, I turned over to face the figurine Lauren bought of a pig being hung at a butcher. That was my breaking point. I told her we needed to divorce. "You're right," she said. "I can't be with the unaliver." Luckily, it was dark enough that I could roll my eyes without her noticing. It was a 4-week process, one where she ended up spending all her free time with Evelyn. It was during this time that Evelyn got a boyfriend, a non-vegan, meat-loving man. Go figure. The reason I knew this was because I followed her on social media, and she was plastering them everywhere with photos of them barbecuing and eating ribs together. That's when Lauren called me. She was crying and told me she was sorry for being so brainwashed. But at that point, I was already done with women as a whole, and was pretty much ready to spend the rest of my life as a single man with a fridge full of steaks to keep me company. So I politely declined her offer to get back together. I was honestly ready to never hear from Lauren again, but apparently she had other plans, because the next morning, I woke up to someone banging on the door. It wasn't Lauren. It was my mother. I opened it, and her face was completely swollen from crying. "How could you do this to me? Our family!" I stared at her blankly, still in the process of waking up, but she helped me with my grogginess by slapping me in the face. Hard. "You should be effing ashamed of what you did to Lauren, you effing rapist." I stood there frozen, my cheeks stinging from the slap. My brain couldn't process what was happening. My own mother had just called me a rapist. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. She just kept screaming about Lauren and what I supposedly did to her. I finally managed to ask what she was talking about, but she just shook her head in disgust and stormed off to her car. I immediately grabbed my phone and tried calling Lauren, straight to voicemail. I texted her asking what the hell was going on. The message showed as delivered, but not read. I tried again. This time it didn't even deliver. She had blocked me. I sat down on my couch, hands shaking. What the actual hell was happening? I opened Facebook and saw Lauren had posted something vague but terrifying. "Sometimes the worst predators wear the softest smiles. Believe women." The comments were already piling up. People sending heart emojis and stay strong messages. A few asked what happened, but she wasn't giving details. Just enough to make everyone think the worst. My phone started blowing up with texts from mutual friends. Most were just variations of, "What did you do?" or "Is it true?" No one would tell me what it was. I tried calling my mom back, but she wouldn't answer. I felt like I was losing my mind. How do you defend yourself against an accusation when you don't even know what you're being accused of? I decided to shower and clear my head. Maybe this was all some horrible misunderstanding. But when I got out, I had 3 missed calls from my boss. It was Saturday. He never called on weekends. My stomach dropped as I called him back. "Robert, we need to talk about some concerning information that's come to our attention," he said, his voice formal and cold. "I think it's best if you take some time off while we sort this out." "Sort what out?" I asked. "What am I being accused of?" "I'm not at liberty to discuss the details," he replied. "HR will be in touch on Monday. Until then, please don't come into the office." I was being placed on leave for something I didn't even know I'd supposedly done. This couldn't be happening. I hung up and immediately drove to my friend Mike's house. He'd known both me and Lauren for years. He'd be reasonable. When I pulled up, I could see him through the window. He saw my car and his face fell. He came outside before I could even knock. "Dude, you shouldn't be here," he said, looking nervously back at his house. "Mike, I don't even know what I'm being accused of," I pleaded. "Lauren's telling people something happened, but I swear to God I didn't do anything." Mike looked at me for a long moment. "She told people you tried to force yourself on her after she asked for the divorce. Said you couldn't handle the rejection." My blood ran cold. "That's insane. That never happened. You know me, man. I want to believe you," he said, "but it's her word against yours, and she's been through a lot." "Been through a lot?" "She left me over steak, and now she was destroying my life with a lie." I drove home home in a daze, barely seeing the road. When I got to my apartment building, my neighbor Mrs. Peterson was getting her mail. She'd always been friendly, baking me cookies when Lauren moved out, but today she saw me and quickly hurried inside, avoiding eye contact. I went upstairs and found creep spray painted across my door in bright red letters. I called the police, but they seemed uninterested. No cameras in the hallway, no witnesses, nothing they could do. The officer looked at me with thinly veiled contempt as he took my report. That night, I created a fake Instagram account and looked at Lauren's profile. She'd posted several TikToks of herself crying with captions like, "I escaped, but not everyone gets out alive." The comments were full of support, people calling her brave, saying they believed her, saying I should be in jail. I sat in my vandalized apartment, surrounded by the ruins of my life, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. All because my wife joined a Pilates class and met Evelyn. I needed to figure out what the hell was going on. I grabbed my laptop and started compiling everything I had from Lauren. Every text, every email, every photo. I needed proof that she was lying. I found messages from right after our separation where she was apologizing for the vegan stuff. Photos she'd sent me of steaks with captions like, "Thinking of you," and "Miss our dinners." Texts where she literally begged me to take her back. But there was one thing missing. A voice memo she'd sent me a week after our split where she apologized for everything and admitted Evelyn had been filling her head with crazy ideas. I searched everywhere but couldn't find it. Then I remembered. I'd saved it to my cloud backup. I logged in and nothing. It was gone. Someone had deleted it, and there was only one person who knew my password besides me. I felt sick. Lauren had planned this. She'd gone into my accounts and erased anything that contradicted her new story. How long had she been setting this up? Was this revenge for me not taking her back? I stared at the shattered picture frames on the floor, our wedding photo now covered in what looked like red paint, and felt a cold dread washing over me. The next morning, I woke up to an email from HR. They wanted a Zoom call at 10 a.m. I spent the hour before the meeting pacing my apartment, trying to calm my racing thoughts. The coffee I made sat untouched, growing cold on the counter. I logged on, trying to look calm despite having barely slept. My boss was there with the HR director, a woman named Melissa I'd only met once before at the company holiday party. "Robert, we've received some concerning information about your personal conduct," Melissa began, her voice professionally detached. "While no formal complaint has been filed with the company, we're concerned about the potential impact on our workplace environment." I tried to defend myself, but they kept using phrases like optics and abundance of caution. They never directly accused me of anything, which meant I couldn't directly deny it. By the end of the call, I was placed on indefinite paid leave. They even suggested I seek counseling. The way they looked at me through the screen, a mixture of disappointment and suspicion, made me feel like I'd already been convicted of something I hadn't done. After the call, I checked my email and found my gym membership had been revoked due to reports of inappropriate behavior. Again, no specifics, just vague accusations that I couldn't fight against. I called the gym manager, someone I'd chatted with almost daily for 3 years, but he wouldn't take my call. His assistant just repeated the same corporate line about community standards. I felt trapped in my apartment. Every time I went out, I could feel people staring, whispering. A guy at the grocery store called me a predator under his breath. The barista at my regular coffee shop, who used to greet me by name, now avoided eye contact completely. I started ordering delivery for everything, watching through my peephole as delivery people left packages and food at my door without knocking. 3 days into my self-imposed isolation, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "I know you're innocent. Call me." It was Rachel, Lauren's cousin. We'd always gotten along well at family gatherings. She was the one who'd always roll her eyes behind Lauren's back whenever my wife got too dramatic about something trivial. I called her immediately, my hands shaking slightly as I dialed. "I don't believe what Lauren's saying," she told me, her voice hushed as if she was afraid of being overheard. "She's always been dramatic, and ever since she met Evelyn, she's been different, like she's playing a character in some movie." "Do you know what she's actually telling people?" I asked. "Because no one will give me straight answers. They just look at me like I'm some kind of monster." Rachel sighed, a heavy sound that carried the weight of family loyalty being tested. "She's telling everyone you tried to force yourself on her when she asked for the divorce, that you couldn't handle her becoming independent, that you were controlling and abusive throughout the marriage, that you monitored her food intake and got angry when she wanted to make her own choices." My stomach dropped, a physical sensation like being in a plummeting elevator. None of that is true. We literally broke up because she threw out all my steaks and sold my grill. She replaced everything in our kitchen with vegan alternatives without even talking to me first. "I know," Rachel said. "That's why I'm calling. I saw her last week with Evelyn. They were laughing about something on Evelyn's phone. It seemed off, like they were celebrating something that wasn't actually funny." I thanked Rachel for believing me, but I didn't know what to do with this information. It wasn't proof of anything, just a feeling she had. Still, it was the first time in days that someone had treated me like a human being, rather than a pariah. That night, I couldn't sleep. The streetlight outside my window cast long shadows across my bedroom ceiling. I kept scrolling through social media, watching my life implode in real time. People I'd known for years were posting about standing with survivors and cutting toxic people out. They weren't naming me directly, but everyone knew who they meant. My college roommate, who had been my best man, had shared a long post about believing women, with a pointed reference to friends who had disappointed him. My own sister had liked it. Around 3 a.m., I had a thought. Evelyn had a boyfriend, a meat-eating boyfriend she'd been posting BBQ photos with just weeks before Lauren's vegan conversion. If anyone might have insight into what was happening, it would be him. I found him on Instagram, Walter, according to his profile. His feed was full of outdoor adventures and, yes, plenty of grilled meat. I sent him a DM asking if we could talk. I didn't expect a response, but to my surprise, he replied almost immediately. "I was wondering when you'd reach out," he wrote. "Let's meet tomorrow. Not in public. Too many eyes." We arranged to meet at a park outside of town the next morning. I got there early, paranoid that someone might see us together. I sat on a bench near the duck pond, watching the birds glide across the water's surface, envying their simple existence. Walter showed up right on time, looking nervous. He was taller than I expected, with a beard that looked like it required serious maintenance. "I don't know exactly what's going on," he started, sitting down but keeping some distance between us. "But something's not right with Evelyn and Lauren. They're always whispering together, and they stop whenever I come into the room. Evelyn's been acting strange for weeks now." "Did you know Lauren and I were married?" I asked, studying his face for any sign of deception. Walter looked confused, his eyebrows drawing together. "Married? Evelyn told me you two just hooked up a few times, that you got obsessive and wouldn't leave her alone, that Lauren was scared of you." I pulled out my phone, opened my photo gallery, and showed him our wedding photos, the beach ceremony in Maui, the reception where Lauren had smashed cake on my nose, holiday photos from last Christmas, barely 4 months ago. His face went pale, the blood visibly draining from it. Dude, I had no idea, he said, running a hand through his hair. Evelyn's been lying to me too. She told me Lauren was her friend from college who'd recently moved to town. Walter pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots of conversations between him and Evelyn. In one, Evelyn talked about training Lauren to be stronger and how they needed to make sure he stays irrelevant. There was even a message where Evelyn told Walter that Lauren's doing exactly what we discussed. The most disturbing one read, "Once we finish with him, we can focus on your transformation. Can you send me these?" I asked, my heart racing, a glimmer of hope breaking through the dark cloud that had been following me. "Already did," he replied, tapping at his screen. "I'm done with Evelyn after this. This is some psycho poop. I think she's been planning to convert me to veganism too. She's been making comments about my diet lately, asking if I've ever considered ethical eating." I thanked Walter and headed home, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. I now had proof that something weird was going on between Evelyn and Lauren. It wasn't proof that I was innocent, but it was a start. As I walked back to my car, I noticed how beautiful the day was. Bright blue sky, birds singing, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. It was the first time I'd noticed anything beyond my own misery in days. Back at my apartment, I started putting together a folder of everything I had. The screenshots from Walter, the texts and emails from Lauren before she changed her story, photos of us happy together right up until the vegan conversion. I even had our divorce papers, which cited irreconcilable differences regarding dietary choices as the reason for our split. I found an old video of Lauren laughing as I grilled steaks for her birthday just 8 months ago, telling the camera, "This man knows the way to my heart is through a perfectly cooked ribeye." I called a lawyer, a guy named Bruce that my buddy had used for his divorce. I explained the situation and sent him my evidence folder. He called me back an hour later, his voice grave. "Look, unless she files a police report or sues you for something specific, there's not much legal action we can take," Bruce explained. "This is all in the court of public opinion right now, and that court doesn't require evidence or due process. So I just have to let her destroy my reputation?" I asked, pacing my living room, stepping over the remains of what had once been a happy home. "Not necessarily," he replied. "You can start quietly sharing your side with people who matter. Not in a vindictive way, but just to set the record straight. Don't go public with accusations against her. That'll just make you look worse. But you can defend yourself with the truth." I took his advice and created a Dropbox folder titled My Truth. I included everything I had, along with a calm explanation of what actually happened in our relationship. I didn't attack Lauren or call her a liar. I just presented the facts as I knew them, including the timeline of our relationship and breakup. I spent hours making sure my tone was measured and reasonable, not angry or accusatory. I sent the folder to a few key people, my parents, my boss, and a couple of close friends who had distanced themselves. I also sent it to Rachel, Lauren's cousin. Then I waited, staring at my phone, hoping for some response that would indicate I wasn't completely alone in this. A few days passed with no response from anyone. I was starting to lose hope again when Rachel called me. I was in the middle of a sad dinner of microwaved leftovers, sitting at my kitchen counter because my dining table had been flipped over during the vandalism. "I sent your folder to Lauren's boss," she said without preamble. "She works as an assistant at a therapy practice, and they take this kind of thing very seriously. They've put her on leave pending an investigation. Apparently she's been telling clients about her abusive ex as some kind of weird bonding technique." I felt a weird mix of emotions. I hadn't wanted to get Lauren in trouble at work. I just wanted people to know I wasn't some monster. But maybe this was the only way the truth would come out. "How did her boss react?" I asked. "Let's just say they were very concerned about the discrepancies between her story and your evidence," Rachel replied, "especially since she's been using her supposed trauma to connect with actual abuse victims." The next day, I noticed something strange. Lauren's social media accounts had gone quiet. Her last post said, "Sometimes accountability is the first step to healing. No details, no accusations, just that cryptic message." The comment section was filled with confused supporters asking what had happened, but there were no replies. A week later, my mother called. She was crying again, but for a different reason this time. I could hear my father in the background, his deep voice murmuring comforting words. "Robert, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. Lauren called me. She admitted she exaggerated what happened, said she was hurting and got carried away. That Evelyn convinced her that reframing your breakup as abuse would help her heal. "Did she tell you what she's been saying about me?" I asked, sinking onto my couch, suddenly exhausted. "Yes," my mom replied quietly, "and I should have known it wasn't true. I raised you better than that. I'm so sorry I believed her, even for a moment. Your father never did. He kept telling me to wait for the whole story." Slowly, things started to shift. My boss called to say I could return to work. My gym membership was mysteriously reinstated. Friends began reaching out, awkwardly trying to reconnect without acknowledging they'd abandoned me. My sister sent a text that simply said, "I should have asked for your side. I'm sorry." I didn't gloat or demand apologies. I just quietly went back to my life. I repainted my door, restocked my fridge with steaks, and bought a new grill, a better one than I'd had before. I was starting to feel like myself again, though I found myself more cautious around people, more careful about who I trusted. Then one morning, I found a letter in my mailbox, handwritten, no return address. The envelope was made of thick, expensive paper. I opened it and immediately recognized Evelyn's handwriting from birthday cards she'd signed for Lauren. "Robert, I owe you an apology," it began. "I never expected things to go this far. I was trying to help Lauren find her voice, but I got swept up in being her savior. What started as encouraging her to stand up for herself turned into something ugly, and I'm sorry for my part in it." She went on to explain that Walter had broken up with her after seeing my evidence folder, that she'd lost friends too, that she regretted manipulating Lauren and turning her against me, that she'd been dealing with her own issues and had projected them onto Lauren's situation. "You were right," she concluded. "Sometimes people just need a good steak and someone who doesn't try to change them. I've started eating meat again. Turns out 5 years of veganism was making me anemic and affecting my mental health. I didn't respond to Evelyn's letter, didn't post about it online or show it to anyone. I just put it in a drawer and tried to move forward. There was something satisfying about having her confession, but I didn't need to do anything with it. The truth had a way of emerging on its own. A month later, I invited a few friends over for a steak night, some new people from work, plus Mike, who had finally apologized for doubting me. One guy, Noah, brought his girlfriend Kayla, who happened to be vegan. I made sure to have some grilled vegetables and plant-based options for her. I'd learned from my experience with Lauren that a accommodation wasn't the same as conversion. I hope this isn't awkward, she said when she arrived, her eyes taking in the impressive spread on my newly purchased patio table. Noah told me about your ex-wife. Not awkward at all, I assured her, handing her a glass of wine. What you eat is your business. I just like having good people around. We all sat on my patio, eating and drinking and laughing. No debates about food ethics. No judgment, just people enjoying each other's company. Kayla even complimented how good the steaks smelled, though she stuck to her veggies. She told a funny story about a disastrous date with a militant vegan who had lectured her for wearing leather shoes, despite being vegan herself. As the night went on, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Lauren, not at Evelyn, not even at the friends who'd abandoned me. I was just grateful to be free from all the drama. The stars were out, the food was good, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Lauren. I saw your friends at your place last night, it read. Looks like you're doing well. I didn't respond right away. Was she watching my apartment? That was concerning. But before I could decide what to do, another text came through. I'm in therapy now. Real therapy, not just working at a therapy office. I'm learning about boundaries and why I let Evelyn influence me so much. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at my phone for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore her. Part of me wanted to tell her off. But eventually, I just wrote back, I hope you find peace, Lauren. She sent back a simple, thank you. And that was it. I thought that would be the end of it. But a week later, I was grocery shopping when I ran into Evelyn. She was in the meat department of all places, looking at steaks. She saw me and froze, a package of ribeyes in her hand. She looked different. Her previously pale complexion had more color, and the dark circles under her eyes were gone. Robert, she said, looking genuinely shocked. I didn't expect to see you here. It's a grocery store, I replied flatly. People tend to shop at them. She laughed nervously, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. Right. I got your address from Lauren, for the letter. I hope that was okay. I nodded but didn't say anything. I wasn't interested in small talk with the woman who had helped destroy my reputation. I reached past her to grab some ground beef, intentionally creating distance between us. I'm actually cooking dinner for Walter tonight, she continued, holding up the package of ribeyes. We're trying to work things out. He's giving me another chance. Good luck with that, I said, turning to leave, my shopping basket hanging from my arm. Wait, she called after me. There's something you should know. Lauren didn't come up with the accusations on her own. It was my idea. I stopped and turned back to her. What? When she wanted to get back together with you and you said no, she was devastated, Evelyn explained, her voice low. I suggested she could hurt you the way she felt hurt. It was just supposed to be some vague posts to make people wonder. But then she took it further than I expected, and I encouraged it. I was going through some stuff with Walter, and it felt good to have someone who looked up to me. I stood there in the meat aisle, processing this confession. Evelyn had admitted to being the architect of the whole thing. Part of me wanted to pull out my phone and record her saying it again, to have proof, but what would I do with it? The damage was already done. People had already moved on. Why are you telling me this? I asked, studying her face for any sign of manipulation. Because I'm trying to be honest now, she said, with everyone, including Walter. My therapist says I have a pattern of controlling relationships to feel powerful. I'm working on it. I nodded slowly. I appreciate the honesty, but I think we should go our separate ways. As I walked away, I felt a weight lifting. I didn't need revenge or vindication. I just needed to move forward. And for the first time in months, I felt like I actually could. The fluorescent lights of the grocery store suddenly seemed brighter, the world a little more welcoming. That night, I grilled myself a perfect steak, medium rare, just the way I liked it. As I sat on my patio enjoying it, I thought about how something as simple as food preferences had somehow spiraled into false accusations and social exile. It seemed absurd now, like a fever dream I'd finally woken from. My phone buzzed with a text from Noah, asking if I wanted to join him and Kayla for dinner that weekend. They'd found a restaurant that served both amazing steaks and great vegan options. Best of both worlds, he wrote. Plus, Kayla thinks you're cool. She appreciates how you didn't make her feel weird about being vegan. I texted back, sounds perfect. Because it did. Life wasn't about converting others to your way of thinking or punishing those who rejected you. It was about finding people who accepted you as you were. The next morning, I woke up to an email from my boss. The company had decided to promote me to senior manager with a significant raise. Your professionalism during recent personal challenges impressed the leadership team, he wrote. We value employees who can maintain their integrity under pressure. I smiled as I read it. Sometimes karma works out after all. Later that day, I was scrolling through social media when I saw a post from Lauren. She'd deactivated her accounts for weeks, but now she was back with a single post. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. I'm sorry to those I've hurt with my actions. The comments were mixed. Some people were supportive. Others were confused. A few were angry, asking what she meant. She wasn't responding to any of them. I noticed Rachel had commented a simple heart emoji, a small gesture of family support despite everything. I closed the app without commenting. Her journey wasn't my concern anymore. I had steaks to grill and a life to live. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited about what came next. Tomorrow, I was meeting with a realtor to look at houses in a new neighborhood. A fresh start in a place where nobody knew my story, where I could just be Robert, the guy who loves a good steak and values honest relationships. I closed the app without commenting. Her journey wasn't my concern anymore. I had steaks to grill and a life to live. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited about what came next. Tomorrow, I was meeting with a realtor to look at houses in a new neighborhood. A fresh start in a place where nobody knew my story, where I could just be Robert, the guy who loves a good steak and values honest relationships. The realtor, a guy named Paul, showed me 3 houses that day. The first 2 were okay, but the third one was perfect. It had this awesome backyard with a built-in grill and smoker setup that made me almost drool. The kitchen was huge with a massive island perfect for prepping different cuts of meat. I put in an offer that afternoon. Paul said I was moving fast, but when you know, you know. 2 days later, my offer was accepted. I was sitting at my desk at work when I got the email, and I literally fist pumped. My coworker Lillian saw me and asked what was up. I told her about the house, and she seemed genuinely happy for me. It felt good to share positive news with people again after months of everyone treating me like I had the plague. That weekend, I started packing up my apartment. Mike came over to help, bringing beer and pizza. We were sorting through kitchen stuff when he suddenly got weird and quiet. What's up? I asked him, noticing his change in mood. I feel like poop for not believing you right away, he said, staring at a box of plates. I've known you for what, 12 years? And I let some vague social media posts make me doubt you. I shrugged and handed him another beer. It's cool, man. That That stuff was designed to make people doubt me. Lauren and Evelyn knew exactly what they were doing. We finished packing the kitchen in comfortable silence. It felt good having my friend back, even if things weren't exactly the same as before. Trust is like that. Once it's damaged, it never quite goes back to its original shape. The next morning, I woke up to a weird email from an account I didn't recognize. The subject line was, "Thought you should see this." There was no message, just an attachment. Normally, I'd never open random attachments, but something made me click on it. It was a screenshot of a private Instagram chat between Lauren and Evelyn from months ago. Lauren: "He said no. He doesn't want me back." Evelyn: "Men always come crawling back when they think you've moved on. Trust me." Lauren: "I don't think Robert will. He seemed pretty done with me." Evelyn: "Then we make him regret it. Men like him only learn through consequences." Lauren: "What do you mean?" Evelyn: "I have an idea. It worked on my ex. He'll never show his face in this town again." I stared at the screenshot for a long time. The timestamp showed it was from the day before Lauren called my mom with her accusations. I scrolled down to see who sent the email. The sender was just W, with no other identifying information. Had to be Walter. I sent a quick thank you reply, but it bounced back. The account had already been deleted. I forwarded the screenshot to my lawyer Bruce, just to have it on record somewhere. He called me an hour later. "This is pretty damning evidence of premeditation," he said. "If you wanted to pursue legal action, this would be helpful." I thought about it for a minute. "Nah, I'm good. I just want to move on. I'm closing on a new house next week and starting fresh." Bruce seemed surprised but didn't push it. "Your call, but keep this in your back pocket just in case." I spent the next few days finishing up packing and saying goodbye to my old place. I didn't have many memories there I wanted to keep anyway. The apartment had been tainted by all the drama. I was more than ready for a change of scenery. On moving day, Noah and Kayla showed up to help, which was super nice considering I hadn't known them that long. Noah helped me carry the heavy furniture while Kayla organized the kitchen boxes with scary efficiency. By evening, my new house was starting to look like a home. We ordered takeout and ate on the floor of my new living room since I hadn't set up the dining table yet. "This place is perfect for you," Kayla said, looking around appreciatively. "Especially that outdoor kitchen setup, right? I'm thinking of hosting a housewarming barbecue once I'm settled," I said, already planning what cuts of meat I'd grill. "Count us in," Noah said, his arm around Kayla. "She makes an amazing vegan potato salad that goes great with grilled stuff." I smiled, thinking how different this was from my experience with Lauren. Kayla was vegan, but didn't make it her entire personality or try to convert everyone around her. She just did her thing and let others do theirs. It was refreshing. After they left, I sat on my new back patio, drinking a beer and looking at the stars. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace. No anger, no resentment, just calm. I was about to head inside when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Congrats on the new house. It looks nice." A chill ran down my spine. How did someone know about my new house already? I hadn't posted anything online about moving. I typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "It's Evelyn. Walter gave me your number. I hope that's okay." I frowned. Why would Walter give her my number? And how did she know about my house? I decided to be direct. "How do you know I moved?" "Lauren saw the moving truck at your apartment. Small town." "Great. So Lauren was still keeping tabs on me. Just what I needed." I was about to put my phone away without responding when another text came through. "I wanted to tell you that Lauren and I aren't friends anymore. She's been telling people I manipulated her into making false accusations. She's trying to make herself the victim again." I stared at my phone, not sure how to respond. Part of me was curious about what was happening in their dramatic lives, but another part just wanted to be done with all of it. Before I could decide, Evelyn texted again. "She's been driving by your old apartment a lot. When she saw you were moving, she followed the truck. She knows where you live now. I thought you should know." My stomach dropped. The peaceful feeling I'd had just moments ago evaporated. Lauren knew where my new house was? That was seriously unsettling. I texted back, "Thanks for the heads up." I went inside and double-checked that all my doors and windows were locked. I felt a little paranoid, but after everything that had happened, I figured better safe than sorry. I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling as I got ready for bed, telling myself Evelyn might be exaggerating or even lying to stir up more drama. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my doorbell. It was barely 7 a.m. I stumbled to the door, still half asleep, and looked through the peephole. My heart nearly stopped. It was Lauren, standing on my front porch with what looked like a gift basket. I took a deep breath and opened the door, but only partway, keeping my foot behind it so she couldn't push her way in. "Lauren, what are you doing here?" She looked different. Her hair was shorter, and she'd lost the intense, wild-eyed look she'd had during her vegan crusade. She held out the basket awkwardly. "I brought you a housewarming gift. It's steaks. From that butcher you like." I didn't take the basket. "How did you know where I live?" She had the decency to look embarrassed. "I saw the moving truck and I was curious." "I'm sorry, that sounds really stalkerish." "It is stalkerish," I said flatly. "You can't just show up at my house unannounced after everything that's happened." Lauren nodded, looking down at her feet. "You're right. I wanted to apologize in person. The things I said about you were horrible and untrue. I've been in therapy, real therapy, and I'm working through why I did what I did." I stood there, not sure what to say. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. Another part was curious about what had happened between her and Evelyn. In the end, I just nodded and took the basket. "Thanks for the apology. I appreciate it." I started to close the door, but Lauren put her hand out. "Wait, there's something else you should know. Evelyn's been telling people that I'm obsessed with you, that I'm stalking you. She even told Walter I've been driving by your place every day." I raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you? You're literally at my house at 7 a.m. This is the first time I've come here," she insisted. "I saw the moving truck last week, but I haven't been driving by or anything. Evelyn's trying to make me look crazy because I told people the truth about her role in what happened." I didn't know who to believe. Both Lauren and Evelyn had proven themselves to be manipulative liars. I decided to keep it simple. "Look, I appreciate the apology and the stakes, but I think it's best if we don't have any contact going forward. I'm trying to move on with my life." Lauren nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry." She turned and walked back to her car, a small blue Honda I'd never seen before. Our divorce settlement had included her keeping our old Subaru. I closed the door and took the basket to the kitchen. It did indeed contain several premium cuts from my favorite butcher. I put them in the fridge, feeling conflicted. The gesture seemed genuine, but showing up at my house unannounced was definitely crossing a line. I decided to put it out of my mind and focus on setting up my new home. I spent the day unpacking boxes and arranging furniture. Around noon, my doorbell rang again. This time it was a delivery guy with a package I'd been expecting, new grill tools I'd ordered online. As I signed for it, I noticed a car slowly driving by my house. A black SUV with with tinted windows. It was going way too slow for normal traffic. The car circled the block and drove by again as I was closing the door. I couldn't see who was driving because of the tinted windows, but something about it made me uneasy. I grabbed my phone and took a quick picture of the license plate, just in case. I tried to get back to unpacking, but I kept glancing out the window, half expecting to see the SUV again. It didn't return, and eventually I relaxed and got back to work. By evening, I had most of my stuff unpacked and organized. I decided to christen my new grill with one of the steaks Lauren had brought. Whatever her intentions, they were good steaks. As I was grilling, my phone rang. It was Rachel, Lauren's cousin. We hadn't talked since everything had settled down. Hey, what's up? I answered, flipping the steak. Have you seen Lauren today? She asked, her voice tense. Yeah, actually. She showed up at my new place this morning with a basket of steaks. Kind of weird. Rachel was quiet for a moment. That's not possible. Lauren's been in the hospital since yesterday. She had an allergic reaction to some new medication. I've been with her all day. I nearly dropped my tongs. What? No, it was definitely Lauren. Short hair, blue Honda. Lauren still has long hair, and she drives the Subaru you guys bought together, Rachel said slowly. Robert, whoever came to your house this morning, it wasn't Lauren. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the evening air. Then who the hell brought me steaks this morning? I don't know, but it's creepy, Rachel said. Maybe you should call the police. I thanked her for the heads up and hung up. I stared at the steak on my grill, suddenly not hungry anymore. If it wasn't Lauren at my door this morning, it had to be Evelyn. But why would she pretend to be Lauren? And more importantly, what was in those steaks? I quickly took the steak off the grill and threw it in the trash, along with the other steaks in my fridge. I didn't know what Evelyn might have done to them, but I wasn't taking any chances. I called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation. They said they'd send an officer over to take a report. While waiting for the police, I texted Walter. Did you give Evelyn my new number? He replied almost immediately. No way. Haven't talked to her in weeks. Why? So Evelyn had lied about that too. I told Walter what happened, and he called me right away. Dude, she's been acting really weird lately, showing up at my place unannounced, calling me from different numbers when I block her. Last week, she left a dead bird on my doorstep. The police arrived before I could respond. I explained everything to the officer, a middle-aged guy named Officer Kendall who seemed to take the situation seriously. He took the steaks as evidence and said they'd test them for tampering. He also took down Evelyn's information and said they'd pay her a visit. After the police left, I called Bruce again. I think I might need that restraining order after all, I told him, explaining what had happened. I'll file the paperwork first thing tomorrow, he promised. In the meantime, maybe stay with a friend tonight? I considered it, but decided against it. This was my new home, and I wasn't going to let Evelyn chase me out of it on my first night. Instead, I double-checked all my locks, set up a chair under my bedroom doorknob like in the movies, and tried to get some sleep. The next morning, I woke up to a call from Officer Kendall. We tested those steaks, he said without preamble. They were laced with a significant amount of ipecac. Would have made you violently ill. I sat up in bed, fully awake now. Did you talk to Evelyn? We did. She denied everything, of course, but we got a warrant for her phone based on the harassment report your friend Walter filed last week. We found texts to someone discussing plans to make you sick. She's being charged with attempted poisoning and stalking. I thanked Officer Kendall and hung up, feeling a mix of relief and lingering unease. Evelyn was clearly more unstable than I'd realized. I wondered if she'd been the one in the black SUV too. Later that day, Rachel called to let me know Lauren was being released from the hospital. She wants to talk to you, Rachel said. She's pretty freaked out that Evelyn was impersonating her. I agreed to a video call, figuring that was safer than meeting in person. When Lauren's face appeared on my screen, I could see she did indeed still have long hair. She looked pale and tired, but it was definitely her. I can't believe she did that, Lauren said, shaking her head. I'm so sorry, Robert. This is all my fault. If I hadn't let her manipulate me in the first place. It's not your fault she's unstable, I said, surprised to find I actually meant it. I'm just glad the police caught her before anyone got hurt. Lauren nodded, tears in her eyes. I've been trying to make amends for what I did to you. I even posted that public apology, but Evelyn kept telling me it wasn't enough, that I needed to do more. I think she was trying to push me to do something crazy so she could swoop in and save you from me. It was a twisted plan, but it made a certain kind of sense. Evelyn had lost control over Lauren, so she tried to create a new drama with herself as the hero. I shuddered to think what might have happened if I'd eaten those steaks. Over the next few weeks, things finally calmed down. Evelyn pleaded guilty to reduced charges and was sentenced to mandatory psychiatric treatment. Lauren and I established clear boundaries, occasional friendly texts, but no surprise visits or calls. Walter and I actually became pretty good friends, bonding over our shared experience with Evelyn's manipulation. I finally had that housewarming barbecue I'd been planning. Noah and Kayla came, along with Mike, Walter, and a few people from work. Even Rachel stopped by with her husband. We grilled steaks that I bought myself, drank beer, and laughed under the stars in my backyard. No one mentioned Lauren or Evelyn or any of the drama. It was just a normal, fun gathering of friends. As everyone was leaving, Kayla hung back for a moment. You know, she said with a smile, for a meat eater, you're pretty cool. Noah and I are having a dinner party next month. You should come. I smiled back. I'd like that, as long as you promise not to try to convert me. She laughed and held up her hands. Never. I learned from Noah that the quickest way to make someone hate your lifestyle is to force it on them. I watched them drive away, feeling content. My new house was already feeling like home. My career was back on track. I had good friends who accepted me for who I was. And most importantly, I could grill a steak without worrying about being poisoned or accused of unaliving. Life was good, and medium rare, just the way I liked it.